It's actually going to be hard to see because of the grass, isn't it? I think I might have been better at where I was, actually. Because the last thing we want to do is die out here. And in fact, you know what? If I set that as my base camp now, if we do die, at least we'll be back. Oh no, that's not a good idea. Let's leave it there. Then we can do a corpse run, can't we? If the shit does hit the fan. Might be able to salvage some of our... Yeah, if anyone's got the game and wants to join me on the server, just shout out, like, send me a message. More than welcome. Just trying to think about other ideas for what could be implemented in terms of the generator. I can't think of what else we could, you know, would be really useful for a power source. I mean, obviously we could power things like the refrigerators. Maybe food, you could make it perishable. So at the moment, you know, I can't help but feel having the potatoes, the speed at which the potatoes and blueberries grow is just absolutely ridiculous. So the lighting could be kind of really essential in the sense that maybe you couldn't, obviously you couldn't grow crops underground with torches because torches are going to expire after a certain amount of time, whether it be 12 hours, 24 hours, whatever. Can you hear? I feel like a meerkat popping out of its hole. Quick look around. Keep hearing a dog. You know the hellhound things? Ah, I can! That's why. Son of a biatch. Nice shot. Typical. Don't really need that. What was I on about? Yeah, the lighting. So yeah, but what you could do is maybe actually have... So you couldn't use your torches to grow crops underground, but what you could do is have artificial lighting. That would work. So you can still grow crops underground, but you'd have to be using the generator to power some pretty hardcore lights. So again, it's about trying to make it so that living underground is still as safe as it is, but make it much more difficult. You know, you're going to have to balance getting light sources, growing your crops, and it's all going to boil down to how you make your fuel. And they could add like a very simplistic kind of kilowatts per hour system, you know, so you can have like a very basic light bulb, you know, which takes up X number of watts, but you could also have like a really huge sort of super powered UV light for farming crops, or rather for growing crops, but you know, that uses significantly more power. Again, it's not, you know, I don't think that's making it overly complicated. It's just something they could add to make it a little bit more variety to the game. Plant alloy, we don't want that because sand's way more important to us. What else? What else could you use electric power for? Like I said, you could power the fridges. So what that would mean is scavenged food that's in tin cans would be, you know, worth its weight in gold in that sense. Maybe make it so that, you know, increases your hunger bar, or I suppose technically decreases it a lot more than it currently does. But you can have like fresh food, which massively increases your hunger bar. But you can't just store it in a chest. You'd have to keep it in a fridge if it's considered a perishable good. But what you see, I was thinking yesterday about sentry turrets and things like that. Well, I think someone else mentioned sentry turrets, but I was thinking about how you could implement it. Oh, walnuts! That's a brilliant idea, mate. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, electric heaters. Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I have read, it's weird that you should mention that, I have read somewhere, and I can only imagine it's on the official forums, that they are introducing an element of body temperature, aren't they? I think like in the desert you will dehydrate a lot faster. And obviously the snow biome's coming up, so I'm assuming maybe it will drop your stamina a lot quicker. So maybe snow biomes, let's think it through. Snow biomes would decrease, your stamina would drop very quick. And like you said, in caves it would drop your stamina. And again, you can make, like you're suggesting, you can actually create or make crafts, I don't know, salvage, scavenge heaters, which would keep your caves warm. But again, that ties in nicely with the campfires. You know, you can use campfires as a source of heat, but they have an expiry date as such. You know, unless you keep pumping them full of fuel. So what you could do is, when you start off, you'd kind of be balancing, like, you know, you're going to use your logs to provide your heat. You're not going to have any electricity supply sort of as such, so you're going to have, like I said, you're going to have logs for your heat. You're going to have your logs for your light source, you know, mixing it with paper and coal. But then as you progress, you know, once you've got your generator built, your resource issue becomes less about wood and more about gasoline. So that's kind of like a nice progression, isn't it? But yeah, I like that. That's a good idea, walnuts. So again, going back to what I was on about, so some sort of infrared detection. I don't know. That technically wouldn't work with zombies, would it? Because they're don't suppose they don't generate body heat. Do they generate body heat? Who knows? Good question. They're dead, but the muscles are working, so they must generate heat. Who knows? Good question. But yeah, you could have automated sentry turrets. I mean, you can never go wrong in a game with automated sentry turrets, can you? Let's be honest. But again, the zombies would always be homing in on the generator. You know, it's going to make a lot of noise, and literally the second that generator gets overrun, that's it. You know, chaos will ensue. Your lights go out, your sentry turrets turn off, your heating turns off. You know, you're back to basics. You've got to use your manual torches. You know, they could even have clothing, couldn't they? Now let's be honest. Oh, even Minecraft's got 4 inventory slots for your helmet and what have you. Helmet, trousers, boots, chest. I'm sure they could introduce bulletproof vests, which would be somewhat resistant to zombie melee attacks. We might as well, if I fix up this shovel, I've got 1 extra slot of sand, haven't I? Yeah, and what they could do, they could introduce much more, or many more items in the world that are electrical based, you know. I mean, there's no reason why TVs, radios, all that stuff shouldn't have survived. It might not work, EMP issues and all that from nuclear blasts, but the actual wiring, capacitors, all that sort of stuff, circuit boards, that would all be intact. See, the problem is now, I'm creating this game that's never going to exist. Why can I not do this? I want a generator. Don't worry guys, we're getting there. In fact, we've done better today for gathering sand than we have in the sort of 3+ weeks we've played in game, because I don't know if you noticed, but the day count is definitely not right, because we were on at least, well, probably day 30 yesterday. I don't know, I can't remember. I know it was at least day 21 when I looked at one point, but that was probably like a couple of hours into a 6-hour stream, so God knows what we were on when by the time we left. You can always watch it back. Sure, I heard something then. So yeah, I think electricity would almost be like the ultimate expansion for it. If they can just get the rest of the game mechanics sorted. So, I mean, they're on about the procedurally generated world, and yes, I think that would be absolutely awesome. But you know, it's not make or break for me. I mean, if they can increase the map size or open up the map creator to the modding community. I mean, sometimes I do have to wonder how devs base their decisions. I mean, I suppose the problem is, from a legal standpoint, is if you open things up to the modding community, and the modding community starts coming up with awesome mods, which also happen to be part of your long-term design strategy. So say we're talking about electricity, yeah? And they opened up the source code. I mean, mind you, it's on the Unity engine, so... but they allowed modders to start tinkering with it, and say Mrs. X came up with an electricity mod which included everything I've just spoken about, but somewhere in their design timeline the fun pimps had also got electricity being planned. I suppose the danger is, if all the coding and everything is somewhat similar, wonder how it works from a legal standpoint. Does the modder suddenly have the right to something? I don't know. Got no idea. But following that train of thought, it makes me wonder why, I suppose, devs don't ask for help in a way from the modding community. Again, is it a legal issue? I mean, surely they could say, look, we would love someone to design oh, what the hell? X, Y, or Z, even if it was just like a texture. Or if anyone, you know, wants to, feel free to make a new zombie animation. I'm sure there's loads of people out there who'd be more than happy to do it. You know, if you really like a game and really want to make it better, I mean, let's face it, people don't get paid for Minecraft mods, do they? Yeah, I mean, when I was saying it actually, Toll, yeah, I was thinking, I wonder if it's an element of pride and realising that actually these guys that are out there who aren't actually paid to design games actually might do a better job. I don't know, I just don't know. But yeah, like I say, maybe there's an element of pride to it, I don't know. You've got to think there's a real legal issue there though, haven't you? I think that's more likely the main reason. But imagine how much faster it would develop if you had the modding community helping out. I suppose the issue you've got though, I mean the real problem is once people start tinkering with code, the whole thing just becomes a complete shitstorm. There's no way to debug it, there's no way to find out what's interfering with what. I mean that's undoubtedly the reason, but when I'm talking about things like textures, basic gameplay mechanics, I don't know. I think I've answered my own question, haven't I, really? I suppose also things like, I mean, optimization, if you had multiple different people working on code from different angles, it would just become almost impossible, wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, exactly, Told, definitely. I always wondered, you know, when Minecraft themselves were working on things that were kind of already out there and had already been modded, you know, I thought, wouldn't it just be easier for them just to say, look, what you've done is fantastic. is 10 grand. I mean, let's face it, if they said here's 500